Hey, Niners faithful. We know it's been a while, but we're back. And maybe the Niners are back, though we've said it before. But this time it's for real this time. We're for realsies. Anyway, Juju Talk Sports, Jose Corral. The Niners are currently sitting at 5-6. The Cardinals at 6-5. In theory, one game back of being in that 7-seed hunt. If maybe a game gets canceled, maybe that 8-seed hunt. But should the Niners and our fans obviously get their hopes up? I mean, again, we've been in this position before, and I do have my concerns, obviously, with the quarterback situation, what we got going on here. Jose, should the Niners make one last playoff push?
I think if the question is should, of course they should. If you anytime you find you're finding yourself in a position, doesn't matter the injuries you've had, the type of season you've had up to now, if you have a chance mathematically, you should always go to, try to get to the playoffs. Obviously, the Niners situation is a little bit different from a lot of other teams, especially because it's just been a fluctuation of injuries of different guys playing different positions. And it's finally kind of starting to get it together. I know we've said that before too, but then, injuries come along even more than we've been expecting. But I think with what we saw yesterday, I think we saw a few key guys that we really needed back. Obviously Richard Sherman, Deebo Samuel, Raheem Mostert are probably the three main guys that we saw last week that we haven't been able to see the past couple of weeks. So I think if they could stay healthy, if they could do what they did yesterday, I think, definitely make a push for it. At this point, like you mentioned, we're only really a game. Theoretically speaking, they're basically only a game back. I know how that sounds super crazy. And if you would have told me if we were a game behind a playoff spot 3 weeks ago, I would actually be super happy about it. But look, here we are. We really are only a game back in a playoff spot in a tight race in the NFC. That it's kind of, the NFC is kind of weird right now where it's basically New Orleans, Green Bay, Seattle, and then it's kind of just everybody else is kind of there in the middle. And the Niners are there. Niners are in that conversation. So as long as they can stay mathematically that close to a playoff spot, definitely make a playoff push, 100%.
Well, the tough thing I have with them at this moment is when you look at who they've beaten. Now we've beaten the Rams twice, we beat the Patriots, and we beat both New York teams, which you can only play the teams in front of you. And I have a hard time buying into this team as a team that could actually get into the playoffs and make a strong push at the moment, given we have Nick Mullins as our quarterback. And Nick Mullins was trying to hit Rams DBs on go routes yesterday. That's concerning, especially coming off a bye. Off a bye, I would have expected at least a stronger performance from Nick. And yes, I would love to see this team in the playoffs. But I'm questioning, is it really worth it? And what's the upside of, making that last, push and that effort, given that they still have to get – I don't think we can even take it seriously until they could get past Buffalo this week. If they could get past Buffalo, that's a huge – notch in their belt to be able to do that, because then we're talking about, okay, we're at 6-6 here, and then we play back-to-back NFC East teams. It will be the football team and then the Cowboys. The problem is they're not going to be at home for any of these three. We'll touch on that here in another video. But now with the Niners situation, it's shaping up to where it's a possibility. I'm not going to diminish the possibility, but I just look at this. Okay, so remaining schedule. We have Buffalo, we have the football team, Dallas, and then we finish off with the Cardinals and the Seahawks respectively. How do you do it? Okay, how do the Niners make the playoffs? Well, it starts, again, you got to beat Buffalo. That's done, okay? The only exception, if you don't win this week, is you have to literally run the table, beat the last four remaining teams. I would say you at least have to pull down one of those wins against the Cardinals or the Seahawks, and I would say the Cardinals would be the one that matters the most at this point, given they've already beaten you, and they're the team that's only a game up on you in the wild card race. Let's look at the Cardinals schedule. They play the Rams this week. So if the Niners could win and then the Cardinals can be beat by the Rams, that's going to put us in a good spot. Then we talk about, then they face the Giants. Okay, that's probably a win, but I wouldn't completely rule out the Giants in that matchup because their defense has been playing a lot better. My only concern is Daniel Jones just tweaked a hammy, so he's probably not going to be up to snuff by the time that game rolls around. They play the Eagles at home. Then they play the Niners in our new shared home. And then it's going to be the Rams to close the season. Okay, so that's how things are shaping up for the Cardinals. Now, the Rams, yes, we can still, in theory, catch them at this point. We're only 2 games back from them, but at least we have tiebreaker over them, which we have a very solidified tiebreaker, obviously winning the 2 games. Their remaining schedule looks like this. So, again, 2 matchups against the Cardinals. They play the Patriots, which you can't rule out a Thursday night game against the Patriots. Play the Jets. That's a win. They play the Seahawks. And then there is the Seahawks. There's always that chance, right? We can catch them. We can win the NFC or NFC West. We just have to run the table and how that's going to go. So Seahawks, obviously they're playing the Eagles tonight. They got the Giants. They face the Jets, win. Football team, Rams, us. Just based off the fact they still have the Jets in Washington on their schedule, that's not happening.
No, yeah, you kind of look at the path, and we're at that point of the season where a lot of teams are like, okay, what do we need to do to make the playoffs? I think the fact that the Niners are even asking the question, what do we need to do to get into the playoffs in week 12? I'm okay with that, man. Like, I know it sucks. I know it seems very, very difficult, and it's a legit question. It's like, should we even try to get into a position where we're going to get the 7th seed and then get blown out by Green Bay anyway in the first round? But I think just competitively, you have to, at least if you have a chance, why not? You get an extra playoff game under your belt for everybody who could actually play for the Niners. I don't even know who's going to be playing next week or the week after that. But I think if you look at the path to the Niners, it's not that unrealistic for it to happen. I think the fact –
but
it's a little bit – it's like borderline unrealistic.
How many games can Nick Mullins win us is the problem.
That is the main question right now. Not just Nick Mullins, but the team that we currently have of healthy players. The core of healthy players that can actually play, suit up on a Sunday and play, is still very limited, especially if you want to be competitive in these really crucial games when it comes to, your playoff hopes here. But it's going to be very, very difficult. But I still think if there's a chance, there's a chance. Obviously, step number 1 is beating Buffalo, which is going to be very, very difficult in itself. But if you beat Buffalo, that means you can win your next 2 games against the football team and against the Cowboys. And then I think the season basically comes down to that Arizona game. If for some reason the Niners either win or lose against Buffalo, and then they go on and beat the last 2 NFC East teams that they have in the schedule, and then they go into Glendale and they're able to win that game, they'll basically still have a shot. They would have to obviously beat Seattle, which would be difficult. But who knows? Maybe they get healthier by then. Maybe by week 17, a couple more guys are able to come back. So I still think it's very, very difficult. I don't see it happening, but we've seen crazier things happen before.
Beating the Bills, how are we feeling about this one? Because obviously mobile QBs have killed us. Josh Allen, that's one of his biggest traits. He can get out and he can cause issues. If I'm the Bills, I'm telling Josh Allen, let's break contain, let's get outside this pocket, and let's move it on them, because that has shown time after time to be the Niners' kryptonite. Now, I think probably the biggest thing that could help them is they have to make this guy make some stupid mistakes. Josh Allen is not above making a weird toss fumble or throwing it right into Richard Sherman's breadbasket. But they need to force turnovers to make this happen, because you have huge question marks, because the Bills' defense is still pretty solid.
It's still good. Yeah.
So when you're talking about Nick, and I was a huge Nick Mullins advocate as far as like his role as a backup, but as I see him more as a starter, it becomes harder and harder to watch, because we won yesterday's game. Yes, we did. But we almost really threw it away there at the end. Again, he had this one interception, or almost interception, where he just completely overthrew, I want to say, Deebo Samuels, and like the Rams defender should have caught it. And then obviously to start the game, there was the interception where it just popped up in the air and Donald knocked it out. Then another huge issue with us, obviously, is pass protection. not only am I not confident in Nick Mullins, but I'm not confident in Nick Mullins behind this line, even when Jimmy gets back. And let's talk about that avenue. So, Jimmy, when's like our best projection to get him back? Maybe week 15 for the Cowboys game, if we're lucky. I mean, I'd prefer that. Obviously, I'm going to be in that stadium, so I'd like to watch Jimmy over Nick live. That's my guilty pleasure. But so, you know, like that's kind of like where we're at. I mean, hopefully we get Kittle back for that last couple games. But the problem is Nick Bosa is not walking through that door either. So Kerry Hyder, at least he's looking solid. You know, Gibbons, we've got a couple guys making moves. Hey, to see the big man touchdown from Kinlaw. Respect, man. Everyone wanted to trade you. Everyone said you were a bust 2 weeks ago. But Javon, take it home with that
Keep
pick
it up.
6. All right.
No,
well,
yeah. You mentioned it, and I think the key here against Buffalo is going to be the fact that we have Richard Sherman back. You don't know how much that helped the confident wise when I was watching Jared Goff step back there. I was like, okay, he's not going to have somebody completely wide open, just like a lot of the guys that we were throwing in there were kind of just letting guys get blown. They were just getting blown by a lot of
Brian
guys.
Allen.
Yeah, yes, our homie Brian Allen being one of them. But I think having Richard Sherman back there, you could see the night and day difference in that secondary. And I think that's going to be huge. Obviously, that offense it's not a weak offense at all. They have a really good receiver, probably one of the better receivers in the league, and Stephon Diggs. So I think that's going to be the key there, how well we could contain Josh Allen. If we could keep him inside the pocket and let him make one of those mistakes that he's been doing the past couple of weeks, the Niners have a shot at this game.
Okay, Niners faithful. Well, what do you think? Do you think the Niners still have an opportunity to make the playoff push, or should we go back to resuming draft talk? Let us know in the comments below. Like this video, hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back to discuss more Niners topics with you next time. See ya.